Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Babylock, creators of the Celebrate 4-Thread Serger. The Celebrate includes adjustable manual tensions for perfect stitches on any type of fabric. Jet Air Threading threads the Celebrate with the touch of a lever, and the presser foot's 6mm height makes serging on thicker fabrics a breeze. Best of all, you can now buy Celebrate online for $999. Visit babylock.com to find a participating retailer.
Hi, welcome to Sewing with Threads. This is one of our bonus podcasts while we're in isolation. I'm Sarah McFarland, the editorial director, and I'm joined by Janine.
Hi, I'm the managing editor of production.
And Erica.
Hello, I'm the assistant editor.
And today we are going to talk about something that we've all been enjoying, and that is the Amazon original show, Making the Cut, starring Heidi Klum and Tim Gunn. And we had a really unique opportunity. Erica has been covering the show, so she was able to watch in advance. And Erica's been able to do interviews with the designers after the episodes. So Erica, you want to tell us about the premise of the show?
So the premise of the show is it's a design show, so it's a little bit like Project Runway, but it sort of sells itself as more of a design-based competition. So the designers have invisible seamstresses who come in the night, and so they don't have to worry necessarily about all of the basic sewing that they have to worry about on Project Runway and all those other shows. So they can focus a lot more on trying to make their designs true to their aesthetic. Which I think is really interesting, and I wish I had an invisible seamstress who came in the night to finish my projects.
I should mention, too, that this is going to be a no spoilers podcast. Yes. So if you have not had a chance to watch the show yet, we are not going to give away any of the winners or the people who didn't make the cut and were removed from the contest.
You know, Erica, one thing that really struck me as I started watching the episodes was as the further we got into the episodes, it became clear that the designers really do need to know some sewing. They have to have some sewing knowledge in order to proceed, in order to make their creations happen. Yeah. They need to know. So even if they are not sewing, they really have to understand how something is put together in order to first to give instructions to the seamstress, and secondly to see if it actually is going to happen, because you can design something and in the end it's not going to come out if you can't construct it at all. So
right.
Yeah, exactly. There were, not naming any names, there's some designers who don't seem to have as much of a grip on technical skills as the others, and they definitely struggled, leading up to when the seamstresses come. They were scrambling to put together the tech packs, they're called, pattern pieces, cutout fabric, instructions, and you could really tell who was used to doing their own thing and who was used to sketching something and giving it to somebody else and saying, here, please make this a reality.
Make this happen, yes.
Yes. Make it work.
One thing that I've really been enjoying about the show is that it is so international. And of course, this was taped in advance. I'm not sure how far in advance it was taped, but they start out in Paris and they're going to other international destinations. And even in the sewing instructors, sometimes there was a language barrier. I think there was an early episode one of the designers was saying, how do I tell the seamstress stitch in the ditch, or what's an alternative phrase for that? I personally haven't minded not having as much sewing in the show. I've enjoyed seeing the designs.
Yes.
And seeing a higher level of design. And all of these designers seem to be more advanced in their career than some of the Project Runway designers.
Absolutely. Yes. And that is why I think it's so interesting, like you say, Sarah, to see how they're inspired, how they come up with their designs once they're given the assignment, because each episode an assignment is given. You have to create a specific kind of look, and then just see how they go about figuring it out and how much time they actually spend sketching, thinking about it, finding inspiration. And I often think of the inspiration pieces that we've had in the magazine. We have the challenge that we pose every year to the Association of Sewing and Design Professionals, ASDP. And I'm always amazed at how the folks who decide to meet the challenge go about coming up with their designs, what inspires them. So that was very interesting to me to watch that.
Yes, our challenge to the ASDP members, it's always very interesting to see the range of results that we get.
Yes.
They're all very skilled seamstresses, custom clothing designers, and the one that is coming up is about interpreting the different elements, so fire, air, water, and I can't wait to see what people are going to do with that. I thought they chose an excellent range of designers. I mean, you had people who definitely tend to do more avant-garde looks. You had couture. You had streetwear. I really
tailoring.
liked tailoring. Yeah, I really enjoyed seeing all these very different and diverse designers. And international, too. They were from all over the world.
There's from Italy, from Israel, from Belgium,
Malaysia.
Yep. Yeah, I think they really did a good job in picking a wide range.
Los Angeles, New York, Ohio. Yeah.
Georgia, I think. Somewhere in the South.
Virginia was one.
Virginia, yeah.
Yeah.
And let's see, the show started, it's available on Amazon Prime, and it started, March, end of March?
I think it was the first Friday in April.
First Friday in April. Okay. And they're releasing 2 episodes every Friday, right?
Yes. Yeah, so last Friday was episodes 5 and 6.
And this coming Friday, the day that this podcast should air, is 7 and 8. Yep. And when's the finale?
I think the finale is next week.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah. I currently have access to the preview episodes up to episode 9. I haven't watched anything past 6, but I have access to, I believe, everything before the finale, which I have to say is pretty cool.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. So they started with 12 designers, and each week they eliminate at least one of the designers. Sometimes they can eliminate more than one. But
I always think Heidi looks a little bit gleeful when she says, "Remember, we can send more than one of you at home at any time."
Yes,
and it's a little bit of a nail biter because you have a favorite. You're watching. You're like, oh, I hope that one stays. That contestant stays. So
I think we should talk about the judges too. So let's see. It's Joseph Altuzarra, Heidi, Tim acting as the sort of workroom advisor, and Nicole
Naomi
Ritchie, Campbell. So I have really enjoyed Naomi Campbell. She does not pull any punches in her critiques.
She does not. And you know what's interesting? From my interviews with the designers, you would kind of think that the harsher judges may not be as beloved by them, but everyone has been completely raving about her. They love hearing from her. They love hearing her criticism because they know that she says it like she sees it. She's not gonna say that, oh, it's fine, and actually hate it. So they know they're getting the
words.
Yeah, they know they're getting the truth from her.
Another aspect of the show that I've really been enjoying is even though the designers aren't sewing as much themselves as they did on Project Runway, they are going fabric shopping. And we got to see a fabric store in Paris and another fabric store in Tokyo so far.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting to watch that and to see that a lot of them are picking fabrics that they don't normally work with. And you think that's a bit of risk taking, but
some of them, they've picked some really challenging fabrics. You know, some of them worked with silk twill. It's really slippery, slidey, difficult fabrics to work with. One of the things that's interesting to me is that you don't really hear them talking about the fabric budget, which was a big thing in Project Runway. They just sort of go in and they shop and they say, I'd like 5 yards of this, please. And they get 5 yards. How do you know when to stop?
And one of the contestants, I remember her saying at one point, I spent 45, euros on this fabric, per yard. And I thought, oh that's not too bad, but still, I think some of them, if they're using sequin fabrics,
Yep.
or, some highly embellished fabrics, are going to be spending a lot of money.
Oh, I was going to say, I think that there was one designer that went in basing her choice on, I think for this project, I need to get fabric that costs at least 80 euros a yard. And that was completely different from Project Runway, where they had to think about the overall budget first. They are selling a lot of these designs on Amazon right away as the episode airs, because the episodes were taped in advance. Have either of you gone to check out the Amazon store or the prices?
I haven't yet, but yes, I would think that they're going to be a little higher, and I'm wondering if the fabrics are going to be dramatically different from what those were used by the designers themselves to make them more affordable.
Yeah, I actually have taken a bit of a look, and most of the designs that I've seen have been under $100. However, I believe the entire store is sold out at the moment. Oh, okay. Generally, the designs are selling out within about a day or two by the end of the weekend, which is pretty incredible since the designers get some cut of it. I don't know the exact details, but the designers see profit from that, which is really nice for them.
That is.
And did we mention the overall price?
Oh, it's $1 million.
$1 million.
No big deal.
Yes, they were all, I don't think we're spoiling too much when we say that the designers, when they heard what the prize would be, were so shocked and ecstatic. So they are.
It's a huge prize. Yeah.
Yes. Because a lot of them are established. A lot of them have their own businesses, and they're looking to bring it up a notch, to really expand and move on. And this is a wonderful opportunity for them. They are really, and I think even those who are getting eliminated are still thrilled to be part of the process, because they are learning so much from each other within the group. And they're learning a lot from just taking on each of the challenges, each of the assignments. So that is neat to watch. And that's what I find really interesting about this show also. The contestants get along. They're getting along. Like there isn't this, I mean, there are, of course, some clashes, but that's not like the whole point of the show. The point of the show is more to talk about designing and how that whole process of designing, from the point of putting it down on paper, getting your inspiration, to the point of a finished garment. And it's not so much about these personalities. Of course, everybody has a personality, and that makes it interesting, but that's not the focus.
The show initially reminded me more of the British Sewing Bee, in that it seemed quite civilized.
Yes.
It did not, I know it's a huge prize.
Yeah.
I know they're competing, but everybody was very professional.
Yes.
And I liked that. It felt like a calm show to watch, and I think the designs were higher level, so I liked to see that. It wasn't a matter of choosing between two taped together things.
Yeah.
There was actual workmanship, and you had to really think about which one was going to win.
Yeah. Well, even there was a collaboration episode where they had to work with another designer and create 3 looks that sort of meshed their aesthetics. And even in that episode, I was expecting to see some sparks. Usually you have a collaboration episode on a design show and you have a lot of, egos getting in the way and people being like, oh, my idea is better, your idea sucks. And there was pretty much none of that. Even the designers who had big ideas and big opinions were sort of like, all right, I know I have difficulties with this, I'm going to work on that. Which was really kind of awesome to see. It was really professional.
Definitely. Yeah. I think it depends on why you watch a show like this. And I think from our perspective, I like to see people make things work, come up with solutions. I like to see people collaborate. Yeah. It's not filled with drama, at least so far.
Right. I mean, there definitely is drama. You feel the anticipation and the nervousness of getting the project done in a very short period of time. In many cases, the time is so short. I think to myself, oh man, if I had to come up with a design and get it all done and ready to go down the runway in that amount of time, forget it. It'd be falling off, like I have half of it done. But
one seam stitched.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. There was something where they had 7 hours to work.
7 hours,
yep. 7 hours. And I was just thinking, I just made a skirt and it took me 2 days. So I would not do well at making the cut.
No. And it is interesting to watch those folks who know a lot about sewing and are very particular about details and how they address that in a short period of time versus those who are doing more streamlined designs. I like to see that comparison. The one thing that I did appreciate watching the show was there were a lot of scenes where people were ironing or pressing and steaming their garments. And I thought, oh, that is so wonderful to see, because I think a lot of people don't realize how important pressing and steaming is in garment construction. And there you had it right on the show. I mean, of course, I know that's also kind of dramatic because people are moving. They're not sitting at a machine, and the steam is very dramatic on the screen. But that is an important part of garment construction and preparing garments to be worn by people. So, and I think of all the stories that Threads has done about steaming and pressing and how important that is. And I direct people to go to the website and take a look, because we have some very good tips for those things.
Okay, what is your favorite aspect of the show, Erica?
I really like seeing the interactions between designers. I think that that's definitely one of the show's strengths. I think that the designers have a really good rapport between each other, and that's definitely, I think, what I like most.
And how about you, Janine?
I like seeing the finished designs come down the runway. Really get a sense at the end of their looks, their visions, and it's amazing to see all that. You can tell that they've worked so hard. There's a lot of emotion at the runway show as the designers are watching their designs come down the runway, but I just love seeing the designs themselves finished.
I'm gonna say two things. I like that it is commercial free. So it is a solid hour and 10 minutes of content. You get a lot of workroom. And then the second thing is I like the judges, and I like hearing the judges' critiques. And I think because it's a longer show, we get to hear more of that, the discussions that they have. And I kind of like that they are in the industry. They're experts about selling and presenting. I like hearing that. So it's not, they're looking for fashions that will actually sell. It's not just this rarefied design process to make things that look pretty on a runway. I like that commercial aspect to it. And then what's your least favorite aspect of the show, Erica?
I am really not a fan of the Heidi and Tim interludes that pop in. It started out, I think, once an episode, and there was one where they popped in 3 different times, just doing little fun Tim and Heidi things around Paris, having a date night at the Moulin Rouge. And there was one where they were fencing rather poorly, I have to say. And it just really takes me out of the episode. I don't necessarily think they're needed. I think they break up the flow, and I would rather them use the time to show more of the design process and the sewing and the clothing.
I have to agree with you totally, Erica. I found those little interludes just kind of annoying, actually.
Yeah, they felt very self-indulgent, ooh, it's Heidi and Tim time.
Yes. I do like the aspect of seeing something in the city. So there is an episode where the designers get to go around and look for inspiration. And I wish that Heidi and Tim, that had those interludes, were less about them and their personalities, and they took us to see something, a famous design museum or a fabulous fabric store. Or someplace like Lesage or Solstice, someplace where they're incredible craftsmen. That I feel like that's a missed opportunity.
I think having that would fix all of my problems with those interludes. I think you've just solved it, Sarah.
Well, thank you to everyone who listened in on the podcast. I hope that everyone is staying safe and healthy. And we wanted to do that do this partially because we are separated ourselves. I like talking to you guys. And we also wanted to share what we're working on and what we're interested in right now as we get through this difficult time. So we will have another bonus podcast episode next week. And I'm looking forward to the finale of Making the Cut.
Yeah.
Fun.
Thanks for covering it, Erica. And thanks everybody for listening.
Yeah. It's been a lot of fun.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you for listening. Follow Threads on social media and visit threadsmagazine.com to view show notes for this episode. While you're on the site, check out Threads Insider, our online membership with exclusive access to expert sewing techniques. Until next time, keep on sewing with Threads.